Hey guys, it's Jennifer. Welcome back to my channel. Today I am coming to you with my week 1 Victober vlog. At least I hope it's going to be week 1. We never know with me because I'll tell you what, I'm an absolutely terrible vlogger. Y'all probably know that by now. But I already have some updates to tell you because I've cheated. I cheated last year too, but I've cheated. And so I've already technically read one book that was on my TBR. And I am halfway through another. So the book that I've read is The Beetle by Richard Marsh, and I will give you a good update on that later when I go find the book. I should have brought it down here. And I am halfway through No Name by Wilkie Collins. And I'm technically not maybe halfway through. Yeah, I'm barely a quarter through. This is a really big book, and it's much bigger than what I thought it was going to be. It's like 750 pages. I thought it was maybe going to be 500 pages when I picked up this edition of it. So I'm in for a pretty wild ride, a pretty long ride at that. And I will say this got off to a fairly slow start for me. I think the first 100 pages, I was like, what's happening? Will it get there? Will there be some action? And once things started really taking off and everything from the first 100 pages really fell into place, I said, I'm in good hands. I forgot I need to trust Wilkie Collins. He doesn't do anything without a reason. And so that's been proven correct. Where I'm at right now, I'm starting to piece some things together. There's not really a mystery here. And I thought there would be. There is kind of an element of mystery to it, but this is basically about a question of illegitimacy, and that's all I'm going to tell you because I think I knew far too much about the book going into it, so that first 100 pages really felt like it dragged. So the book has been kind of dealing with a really interesting social issue, which is a question of illegitimacy and how we treat people in Victorian society anyway, who come from that kind of background, you know, and really the real question is kind of punishing the children for the sins of the parents and making it so that they don't really come in at even keel with everybody else when they go into society because of their background of illegitimacy. And so I think there's a lot of really interesting social commentary here that I did not expect. And I also find it a weirdly feminist novel so far. And I think Wilkie Collins can write women very, very well. So I am very confident that I'm going to continue to enjoy this. I just had to get over that 100-page hump. If No Name is on your list for this month, or it's just on your TBR in general, I would say that for about the first 100 pages, you're going to say this is very meandering, and you're going to kind of wonder when we will get to the action. But no, the book is not strictly a mystery like some of Wilkie Collins's other works have been. I've read 3 other books by him that you could, I think, pretty easily mostly term a mystery. And so this is very interesting in that I think the mystery element has been completely solved within this first volume. And he even said that in his introduction. He kind of had a preface to this edition and really wanted to make people aware that this was not going to be the second Woman in White. This was the book that he published right after The Woman in White, and he said the big mystery element will be solved within the first volume. And I said, I don't believe that. We're going to keep getting reveals, and I think we still will keep getting reveals, but No Name is not going to be The Woman in White or The Moonstone. And I'm fine with that. I'm really enjoying it from the social commentary aspects, and it's really, really fun. The part I'm in right now, they're in York, which is one of my favorite places on earth. So I'm just really excited to be in Victorian York, a place I never thought I'd visit. I really didn't think I would ever get to see it in a Victorian classic, so this has been an absolute delight. And the characters are really well formed. I do think in many ways, this feels like a weaker book in terms of characterization than The Moonstone or The Woman in White. I mean, seriously, The Woman in White or The Law and the Lady. I don't feel as connected to these characters, so I'm hoping that as the book progresses, that I will have more of an investment in them. The next update I want to give you is about Bleak House. So I have tabbed out Bleak House in its serialization form, how it was originally published, because a friend of mine from work and we were talking about Charles Dickens last week and kind of the tried and true Charles Dickens being paid by the word or being paid by the chapter and publishing week by week, and how we thought, that's valid. And if we were getting paid for that, we would make all of our books this length too. And so we got to talking about serialization and whether or not we thought it should kind of come back into the modern day, and whether or not your mind would remember things better because you had spent such a long amount of time with these characters. And so we decided that we're going to read Bleak House in its serialization parts over the course of a year. So the pressure is off with me with Bleak House for this month. I don't have to try and finish it this month at all. I don't even have to try to finish it this year. So we're gonna see how it goes. We've given each other permission to kind of push on if we get really invested in it and just let the other know. But I do have to read the first part this weekend because we are gonna meet Monday at lunch and sit socially distanced apart and discuss the first part of Bleak House. So I'm excited about this. I have never read a book that was serialized in that format, and I think I'm probably going to struggle with it, but I'm hopeful that I can really keep with it. I have struggled in the past with kind of read-alongs or buddy reads because I rarely read more than one book at a time, so it's hard for me to keep up with books that I'm only reading maybe one chapter of a day or one chapter of a week. But speaking of that, I want to talk about Shirley. So I really initially was not going to participate in the Victober group read-along of Shirley by Charlotte Bronte this year, but Shirley is on my list for my Bronte project. I don't know that I can even say that I have really done anything for that because I haven't read a Bronte book this year, so is it really a Bronte project anymore? But I decided that I think at the end of the day I'm going to like Shirley a whole lot better than Villette. I don't know if that's the common opinion or not. A lot of people love Villette, but I DNF'd it earlier this year, and it's not because I thought the book was going to be bad, but I didn't think there was going to be very much action in it. And since I have decided to participate in the Shirley read-along and I got myself a cheap copy of it, I've heard a lot of people who started the read-along early have found these first few chapters to be very slow and as if not much is happening. So I'm wondering if I'm going to struggle with Shirley in the same way that I thought I would probably struggle with Villette. I am really hopeful about Shirley though, because it is historical fiction and because I just think it sounds really good. It really appeals to me more than Villette does in terms of plot. So I just think I'm going to get on with Shirley. That might not be true. Who knows? But speaking of Charlotte Bronte, I told you I had a lot of updates here for my TBR, but speaking of Charlotte Bronte, I have also decided to kind of dip in and out of Elizabeth Gaskell's biography of Charlotte Bronte because that biography has a lot of Charlotte's letters and a lot of the Bronte family's letters. A lot of Elizabeth Gaskell's letters are included in it. And so I thought that would be a good one for the prompt to read a Victorian diary or series of letters. And I already have that, and I've always wanted to read it. My thing is, I just think that's going to be really sad. I think it's going to be really depressing. So I'm not going to commit to reading that in full this month. I'm probably just going to read up until the point where I feel like it's the point of no return. It's really, really going to be sad with Emily and Anne's deaths. I am looking forward to that tentatively because I've heard a lot of controversial things about that biography. And I am really excited to read it, but I kind of wonder too, should I have read another biography of Charlotte Bronte first so that I knew kind of some more unbiased facts rather than just reading what Elizabeth Gaskell thinks is true. So it's already an eventful day here on October 1st. Hopefully this evening I am going to unhaul some books at my local used bookstore. I've been doing that a lot lately. I have really been unhauling some books, but of course the bad thing is I unhaul the books at the used bookstore, so I have to look around in there while they are going through the books, and then I wind up walking out with just about the same amount. So hopefully that won't happen, but I will probably visit the used bookstore in this vlog anyway, and I will show you around. Hopefully we can do some fun book shopping. But that's all I have right now. Hopefully I will update you on the Beetle later. Good morning. It is day 2 of Victober, and no, I didn't get very much reading done last night, so I'm not much further in No Name because last night I decided to read Christabel by Samuel Taylor Coleridge for just a romantic project. I have a video I'm hoping to do that's kind of Halloween-y with the romantics, so I wanted to read some of their spookier works to kind of get ready for that video because I'm in a very spooky mood this year. I did go to the used bookstore last night, as you kind of saw, and I showed you some of the shelves that were actually full, but for the most part, they've been wiped clean, and they've been that way since this all started. I've been up there a few times to unhaul, and nearly always there have been a few shelves that were just empty, so I don't know if people are not clearing out as often as they used to do during all this, although you would think they would, because what have you been able to do but sit at home and read? So you would think, you know, that you kind of got through all of your books, so you'd be ready to take some away, but it doesn't appear that that's the case. But school did start back in the past month, so I know everybody goes and tries to get all of their school books and all of their fun books, you know, before school really gets going. But I will probably film a haul today, so that should be up here in the next couple of weeks. I will check in with you later. Well, I just finished filming for the day. I filmed a couple of videos, so I feel very successful. I need to plan a few more because I'm not quite sure what I want to do with a couple of these videos. So I'm gonna spend the afternoon trying to plan out some more videos and really editing for the next week. And then hopefully I will actually get some reading done. That's the real goal, is to read something and feel accomplished. But tomorrow I am thinking, since we are having some really wonderful fall weather here, that might go by the farmer's market, get some more flowers, get some more pumpkins. So I will take you along with me if that's what I decide to do. I still need to check in with you and tell you about the Beetle, so hopefully I remember to do that later, but I really, really loved it. Let's just clue you in. I loved the Beetle. I rated it 5 stars. It was a really fun ride, but it's not actually about a mummy. It's kind of about a creature that can turn into a beetle. You might call them a mummy, you might not, but it was really, really wonderful. And I think if you liked The Moonstone by Wilkie Collins, you would love the Beetle because it's set up in a similar way. It's told in multiple points of view like that. So I think if you liked one of those, you might like the other. I really love both The Moonstone and the Beetle. Both of those are 5-star reads for me. So I highly, highly recommend the Beetle. So technically, the first read of Victober was an absolute success for me. I am apprehensive still about No Name, even though I think I've gotten over the hump with it. I'm still fairly concerned about its length, and just that I've always heard people are very torn on this. Some people really like No Name, some people really don't. So I'm curious to see how I will fall on it. But at this point, I do kind of fear its length. I kind of am wondering if I will feel like it needed to be shorter than what it is. I will check in with you guys later. Good morning. It's day 3 of Victober. And to be frank, I got no reading done yesterday, but I'm about to go to the farmer's market, so I will bring y'all along with me. Hey guys, it is day 5 of Victober, and I gave you literally no update yesterday after I went to the farmer's market, so you did see some footage of that. Sadly, there was not very much in terms of flowers. I really wanted some pansies, They didn't have very much, but they did have a lot of really beautiful pumpkins. So it's Sunday evening now. I've spent the afternoon trying so hard to finish up No Name, and I'm still about 100 pages from the end. And so this is my thing about it. I'm really, really enjoying No Name. But one of the criticisms that I heard about it before I picked it up was that it follows the less interesting of two protagonists. And so far, I haven't found that to be the case. I think we are with the protagonist where the action is happening. So I'm wondering if I have that mistaken for Armadale. I actually maybe have 200 pages left, but I am going to try my hardest to finish this today. I'm thoroughly enjoying this. I don't think it's going to be a 5-star read. That much I will say for it. And it's not that, you know, I think the book is bad. It's still going to be a 4-star read, probably a very high 4-star read, because I'm just thoroughly enjoying it. But it's not on the par of The Woman in White or The Moonstone, in my opinion. But it's just very thriller-ish. This is a little bit more of a thriller, in my opinion, than The Moonstone or The Woman in White. It's probably more akin to The Law and the Lady, actually, in terms of how its plot is set up. It's not so much you're trying to figure out a mystery, you're trying to figure out what's going on, but you kind of know what's going on, and you're really hoping it gets there without anybody sabotaging their plans. But I have really enjoyed this, and if you have read this, I just want to publicly proclaim my love for Captain Rag. I mean, what a great character. What a fantastic character. Then I've read the first part of the serialization of Bleak House. So I liked this. I think it's really beautifully written. I'm not quite sure what to make of it yet. So I do have a meeting tomorrow with my friend from work. We decided to read this in serialization order. So we're gonna have lunch together tomorrow, socially distanced, and discuss our feelings on this first part. And I'm really shocked because there's actually gonna be, I think, chapters in here from a certain character's perspective in the first person, which I find extremely unique for the Victorian period. And there's already a bit of a mystery element here, so I'm excited to see how this goes, but I don't really know how well we will be able to stick to the serialization format. So now we've read all we're going to read for October, and so I'm curious to see whether or not I'll be able to remember this a month from now when I dip into part 2. So maybe I should be taking notes. Maybe that would help me along the way, but our goal is to see whether or not in the long run we feel as though we retain more information by reading the book this way. So I'll let you know how that goes tomorrow and what our thoughts on it wound up being. I'm way behind on the Shirley readathon. I kind of thought I probably wouldn't keep to the readathon schedule with Shirley, that I'd probably just pick it up at another point in the month and read it straight through, which might be what I do, but at the same time, I don't want to be so far behind that I can't talk about it with people on the Goodreads group if I decide that's what I want to do. So I might try and start reading this tonight so that I can catch up. It is the 5th day of October, so I probably have quite a bit of catching up to do with this. But that's all I have for you right now. Yes, I did get a new shelf for my bedroom. So maybe I will do a bookshelf tour of that, because I wanted to keep some of my collections together. So my Penguin English Library collection and my Oxford World's Classics editions, the newer versions, I wanted to keep all of them together and make sure they look nice. So now I've kind of transformed my other bookshelf into essentially the Penguin Black Spine shelf. I have all of those together now. So I have to say I feel very organized. The sad thing is, when I went to the used bookstore the other day, and I carried y'all along, when I went there, I found quite a few of the Penguin Black Spine editions. And so now I kind of have to go back through and rearrange everything if I want everything to fit on that shelf perfectly. And I even have a few more of these that I found there. So it's gonna take some reorganization for me to be really happy with the placement of everything. But I just decided that if I was going to commit to having these collections, that I wanted them to all be together and I wanted them to all look decent, look nice, and be in some kind of order. So I've tried to organize things chronologically. I'm not quite sure how I'll feel about that moving forward, but right now I kind of like that, because when I dip in and out of things for reference, I like to know exactly when a book is. That's a little bit more helpful to me than the author's name, weirdly enough. But to have everything from the same time period together, it's just helpful for my brain when I want to check in with reference to know, okay, I want to look at my Victorian classics in this collection. That's just a whole lot easier for me. So I'm very happy with that. I probably won't check in with you again today since it's Sunday evening. I've got to do some meal prep. I'm going to be having an apple quinoa salad for lunch this week, and I am really looking forward to it. I tried that recipe a few weeks ago. It is so good. Apples, quinoa, nuts, green onions. It is so good. I will leave the recipe down below if it's something that you think you're interested in, and you should try it because it's very good at this time of year. But I will talk to you guys probably tomorrow. It is Wednesday, October 7th, and I don't think I've spoken to you since Sunday, October 5th. That's just mostly because Monday and Tuesday were very stressful for me. They're not always, but the first half of the week is when I go into the office. And so I'm always kind of running around like a chicken with his head cut off, trying to do everything up at the office that can't be done from home, which in an archive is the majority of your work. For me, it's been harder, I think, than some other people, because there are some collections that you can take out of the building and that are really easy to move around, like manuscript collections. But I work in rare books, so you might can imagine I can't lug valuable old antique books out of the building, and I really couldn't carry them. So it doesn't matter even if I was really allowed to. There are certain things in rare books that you are allowed to carry out and that are easy to carry. And so I have some of that stuff at home. So Monday and Tuesday, they were a bit of a wash, especially in terms of reading. But Monday I did have my Bleak House meeting, and we both kind of agreed that the first part, there really just wasn't that much to discuss. And we had a really hard time coming up with discussion questions. I felt bad because I felt like he had all of the discussion questions. He came to the meeting prepared. I was very unprepared, and I didn't really know what to say. And he felt like there wasn't enough meat in the first section of Bleak House for us to dig into, because we don't really think we've even met half the people that are going to be in it. And if we have, we don't know very much about them. So we both did agree, though, that we loved the writing style, that we really liked the book. We liked where it was going. And so we're potentially going to move it up and really just read through it. I'm kind of hoping we do, but I feel bad because we agreed to do it in serialization order. And so I don't want to pressure him into doing something when we wanted to be hipsters about it, and we wanted to see whether or not, serialization really worked for us in the modern day, whether it was akin to like watching a TV show that comes out each week or each month in this case. But we both really liked it, so I don't know how it will do. So we're going to try it again next month, see how much we've remembered from this first part, and we're getting some real discussion questions next time so that hopefully we can have, a more beneficial meeting. But I think if we decide that the next part we read we also really love, and we struggled with kind of remembering this, that we will probably just go on and push straight through. I also finished No Name, which I thoroughly enjoyed. I really, really loved. And there are a few parts there in the middle that frankly could have been cut. There's a lot about No Name that is, weirdly enough, to be a very plot-heavy book, slow. There's a lot of slow build towards things that really don't pay off until the very, very end. And so in some ways, I understand everybody's critique about No Name. I really do. I understand why it's not on the same level as The Moonstone or The Woman in White when people talk about it, and it's not up there for me. It's a very high 4-star. In my heart, I wanted to give it 5, but I said, is this The Woman in White? No. Is this The Moonstone? No. But I really, really enjoyed it. It's a very different story to The Woman in White or The Moonstone. I would say don't compare it to The Moonstone. It's more comparable to The Woman in White because The Moonstone is a real overt mystery. And I think I mentioned this in the preface to No Name. Wilkie Collins mentioned that this is not a mystery book. The big mystery is solved within the first volume because he didn't really want people to think this was the second coming of The Woman in White. And it's not. There are real big mystery elements to The Woman in White and The Moonstone. I would say The Moonstone is 100% a mystery story. The Woman in White is maybe more mystery thriller. And I would say No Name falls more towards the thriller. It's a little bit more action heavy. And you know what's going to happen. People prepare you for their plans. So it's not really a shock. Nothing is a mystery. And he's right. The real mystery of the book was solved in that first volume. I just really thoroughly enjoyed it. I am just so close to picking up Armadale. I really am. I want to just dive right into another Wilkie Collins, and I shouldn't do this. I do this every year. I read my Wilkie Collins first, and then it sets my mood for the month. And now I wonder if I'm going to be in the right headspace for something like Tess of the D'Urbervilles. And so I just, in my heart, want to pick up Armadale, and I'm trying not to. It's not on my TBR. It is not on my TBR. I cannot make room for it. But you never know. Maybe I will wind up picking it up. So after that, I've tried to get back on track with the Shirley read-along. I might just read Shirley straight through. I'm not sure. Because a lot of people have warned me that Shirley starts off very slow. And even though today's the 7th, I think I'm only in chapter 5 or 6. So far for me, I have loved it. I mean, I have really, really loved it. And I think her writing style is so beautiful. And maybe I'll have to go get my copy because she says this line like on the very first page, and she says, guess what? You're gonna be bored. Don't think this is a grand romance. Don't think this book is going to be eventful. Maybe you'll get some spice in the latter half of the book, but you're not getting it in the first half. And I said, well, she warned people. She warned me. The first half of this book is not going to be that great. But so far, I am really loving it. And you know what it reminds me of? It really, really reminds me of North and South. And I hope that I'm not giving it too high a praise too early on, but it feels like it's going to play with some similar themes, especially from the industrialization point of view, which I have discovered I really love. And I'm really into that. So I am excited about Shirley, and hopefully if I continue to like it, I might just read it straight through so that I don't fall behind on the read along. In fact, maybe I'll actually get ahead of the read along. We don't know. But otherwise, I'm not quite sure what I'm going to read next. Another thing that I have read, I did read the introduction to Elizabeth Gaskell's biography of Charlotte Bronte. And it's going to be hard. I know I'm not going to be able to read that straight through. I think I also mentioned that, but that's going to be a very, very tough read. I'm excited to read some of her letters, but I have to say on the whole that the introduction has me worried about the biography because it seems to me that Elizabeth Gaskell is going to kind of glorify the tragedy that Charlotte Bronte and her family went through, and that Charlotte came out of it as a genius, and like she needed that hardship to become the smart woman, the really independent woman that she was. And that's worrisome to me. I never like that. I don't like the attitude that you need to have gone through some real hardship to be a true artist. And I don't know if that's just the tone the introduction gave me or if that's the tone Elizabeth Gaskell's going to go with, but that makes me very uncomfortable. And I don't like that. I don't like glorifying somebody's hardship because if Charlotte could have chosen differently, I'm sure she would have, but it's going to be a very, very, very hard read. And if you've read it, I would love to know your opinions on it down below and all the kind of controversies about Elizabeth Gaskell. And how she wrote this and how she viewed certain members of Charlotte's family. I know particularly Patrick, their father, she quite villainizes, and that's something that the Bronte Society still battles. I think people come into the Bronte Society and the Bronte parsonage all the time and are like, Patrick was a monster, wasn't he? And they're like, no, he was a really good person. So I'm sure I will see the roots of that here. I'm interested in this. I know it'll probably spill over into nonfiction November, but that will be fine by me. Tonight, we are having the first Victober social. Kate Howe has put together a Victober social, and so there are going to be 3 this month. So I am really looking forward to it. It's going to be fun to see some BookTube friends and some viewer friends. I know a lot of commenters will be joining us, so I'm really, really excited to participate in that tonight. So I am off to maybe read another chapter of Shirley, feel kind of accomplished. So that's my little reading update for now. I do feel very accomplished, having read No Name and The Beetle. And The Beetle was so good. The Beetle was 5 stars. I just loved, loved, loved The Beetle. And I really loved No Name as well. So I hope that that's an indication that the rest of my Victober is going to go just as smoothly and be just as much fun. And I'm really enjoying Shirley so far. So I'm hoping that that keeps up. Maybe I'm not bored by the same things other people are. So hopefully, I hope that that's the case. So it's Thursday. We are officially a week into Victober. And last night was our first Victober social. Unfortunately, I just couldn't get on. We've been having some internet issues here, and I've had a real trouble with streaming things. So I think that's probably what my issue was. So who knows? Y'all may not even see this vlog tomorrow at this point, and that's kind of worrisome to me. But I just thought I would wrap up the week for you. I haven't really achieved much of anything in terms of reading today because today's a work day. So hopefully I will continue on with Shirley. I mean, I am just really enjoying that, and I am not bored at all. I'm wondering if I'm about to hit a wall with it though. And I'm not quite sure if I will just read it up to the point where the read along is so that I could just be on the same page as everybody, or if I'm going to go on and push through and try and finish it. We don't know, but that has been my week 1. I would love to know how your first week of Victober has gone down below, and what books you're reading, what you finished. Have you liked everything? Have you disliked some things? But that's going to be all from me today. I hope you're all having a great week. Happy reading. Happy Victober. Goodbye.